I want to thank you guys for tuning into the Bootz Sports Show. I'm your host, Uncle Bootz, and the offseason is officially over. Now starts the mini camp for the Dallas Cowboys, and which I think it's the most important mini camp that this team has had in a long time. We will talk about that in a few. First things first, I want to definitely shout out your daily Cowboys footballfix.com. Check out that website. CJ Wright and Cowgirl Cass do a tremendous job over there. Tons of articles. You can also watch videos, as well as this video will be on that site as well. They put in a lot of work there. There's a bunch of Cowboy fans especially, so it's definitely a good community. I would definitely recommend checking out your daily cowboysfootballfix.com. Below you will see that link in the description. So, but moving forward, we were talking about how important this mini camp is, and the Cowboys have to be chomping at the proverbial bit to get back in and rectify or rid themselves of some of the craziness that happened at the end of the season, especially with the last game with the Redskins and throwing 3 interceptions and losing the play-in game to the playoffs. But all that's behind us now. Now we're moving forward, and we're going to talk about some of the things that this team will need to do or figure out in order to move forward and have a successful season this year. So, looking ahead at some of the question marks that this team has, and if I could take the star off the side of the helmet, the only emblem that I would put on the side of the helmet for this team would be a question mark, because there's so many unknowns, so many things that we're gonna find out as the season goes on, as mini camp goes on. So, and that's from top to bottom of the organization. So, it starts, with, to me, the most important polarizing figure of the team, with Tony Romo. My question mark, and if you've been following me or looking at my videos, you know that I'm the biggest Romo fan on the planet. So, but you have to be concerned with the fact that Tony Romo, threw 19 interceptions last year, wasn't particularly great, or wasn't a great quarterback by any means. I know he threw for the most yards he'd ever thrown, for over 4,900 yards, but he still threw a lot of interceptions, and regardless who you want to blame it on, the fact is those interceptions go on his back, and his shoulders are big enough he's always been a man to take responsibility or ownership of what happened. So, but you do have to be concerned. I mean, was it Tony? Maybe is he losing a little bit on the ball? Is he not seeing things? Is age, father time starting to catch up with Tony? The organization didn't obviously think so by extending him to that contract that they gave him. But just because you give a guy a contract doesn't mean that he's going to perform. Now, I believe Tony will perform, but I do have to wonder if Tony's, starting to age, and we're starting to see it in his game. He'll have to prove that, and he'll get a chance to do that this year, minicamp, preseason, etc. Other question marks, the offensive line. I mean, any Cowboy fan, no matter whether you're a casual fan or you're a nut and you're clicking and refreshing the page every 5 seconds to see what new news is coming out about the Cowboys offensive line, everyone knows, has been a disaster. Whether it's interior guard play, or if it's on the outside with the play of either Tyron Smith and or Doug Free, and I think the whole conglomerate has been terrible. So whether it's been the not providing rush lanes or running lanes for the running backs, and obviously not protecting Tony Romo. So we haven't been able to utilize some of the screens that we'd like to do, that we did successfully a couple years ago. So this offensive line is a question mark. What will we see? Will we see a dominant offensive line? Will we see a dominant run game? Because to me, this team has been because of the lack of offensive line play, this team has been a finesse team. And you need in order to be a physical team in the NFL, you have to have a dominant run game, and this team has not had that. Hasn't had the consistency at the position. So the offensive line to me is a huge question mark. And obviously, speaking of that, the running back consistency. That's whether it's a health standpoint, whether it's a touchdown scoring standpoint, or whether it's just been consistency. We haven't seen it at the running back position. And it's been a while. I mean, if you want to count, the Marion Barber little few years there, pretty much since Emmett's been gone, you haven't really had a dependable back for years. We had a spurt of, Julius Jones and Marion Barber, but DeMarco Murray has been far from that and has been less dependable. So that's a question mark. And that's something that these, like I said, these are things that we're going to have to figure out, and minicamp is going to, this camp is going to definitely help us answer some of these questions. What about the transition to the 4-3, coming from the 3-4? People are concerned, will DeMarcus Ware, Anthony Spencer, will they be able to fit? I don't think that'll be a problem. I think that they'll be fine there. Now, you also have to have concerns about DeMarcus Ware's injuries. Is he starting to break down? Is Father Time starting to catch up with him? He's been banged up for the last few years, and it's been the same upper body injuries. That's when you start to worry, when it's the same injuries, because it could be a chronic problem with him. So can this team play it? Do we have the right horses? Do we have the personnel? Do we have the interior linemen to play? This 4-3. I'm very confident in the linebackers. I'm sure everybody is. The linebacking core is gonna, I believe, is gonna be outstanding. But that's also could be a question mark there too with health, because neither one of them have been able to stay on the field healthy. But these are some of the questions that we have. What about the question at the safety position? Do we have a liability there? Barry Church was hurt, coming back from an Achilles injury. So he looks and sounds, everything sounds like he's going to be 100%. We don't know that. I'm taking their word for it that he's 100%. But, we didn't get a large sample of Barry Church film. It's not like we saw Barry Church for a whole lot and we know what Barry Church is. There's a question mark there. And forget the other side, where Sensabaugh has been replaced, so to speak. We don't know what we're getting there. I don't know what we're getting from Will Allen. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've seen a whole lot of Will Allen play. And I don't know what Matt Johnson is going to... I believe that we got the talent on the team, whether it be J.J. Wilcox, Matt Johnson, or Will Allen. I believe somebody will emerge, but I don't know who. And that's the question mark. I don't know what kind of play we're going to get from Matt Johnson. I don't know if he's going to be able to stay. Maybe his body is not built to play this sport, coming from a smaller school. So, maybe he didn't have the weight program to build his body up. Now, you're hoping that the guy can play. You're hoping that some of these guys, I like J.J. Wilcox, but the question mark, is the guy a safety? I mean, he played a few games, his senior year in school. Is the guy really good? Does he have enough expertise or experience to play the position? So, we got, whether it's injuries, whether it's experience, we have these, or whether it's just physical, the physicality of the game. These guys, can they produce that, or can they overcome some of these obstacles? Case in point, Miles Austin, another question mark. Is this guy, when he's on the field, I mean, if you go back and watch some of these games with Miles Austin, go back and even watch the Saint game. I know we watched the Saint game last year, and Dez Bryant put on a big show. But, some of these games, I mean, you go back and look at him, Miles was very good when he was on the field. The problem is he having these hamstring injuries? Are they going to be a part of who he is now? So, and I've had a hamstring injury, and it seems like it's never going to go away. If you open up at top speed, which my top speed isn't that much anymore, but when I open up, I feel like it's going to pull every single time. So I don't know if he's dealing with that. Some guys have a hamstring injury and it goes away, but you can always, it seems like they never really do. So what's Miles going to be? Is he going to play, give you 960 yards and be missing for some games, or is he going to be able to withstand the rigors of the game? So, when you look at those question marks as well from the player standpoint. But I also have some coaching questions. Now, I never got into all this who's calling the plays stuff. Some of that stuff is so academic that it's not. It only matters if it's a screw up. I mean, it only matters if the guy gets out there and doesn't know what down it is, or if Callahan gets out there and doesn't know how many timeouts we have. That's the only time. Nobody cares about the play caller, unless he screws up. So I don't care that Bill Callahan's calling the plays. I don't care who calls them. What I need to see is points per yards. Like, I need to see our yards to points ratio get better. You can't be I don't like number 3 offense, but number 18 or number 21 in points scored. I don't like that. How can you have the number 3 offense in yards in the National Football League, but have the worst rushing, be the worst rushing team, or the 31st rushing team, or rushing points, all these things? Yards equal points. So that needs to happen. That's when Callahan and or Jason Garrett will be judged, to me, is when that transition starts to pay dividends, when we start seeing the yards match up with these touchdowns. That's been what we've been struggling with, team fans. That's what the running back situation hasn't been able to do for us. I mean, so when you look at all these receptions by Jason Witten that he's had, and I love Jason, but it hasn't shown up in the touchdown in the red zone. It hasn't really showed up in that department. So these are the question marks that I have with the coaching staff. How is Jason and Bill Callahan, how are they going to work together, and are they going to be on the same page? I can't have a guy signaling for a timeout, the head coach, and then the offensive coordinator screaming in the ear to spike the ball. Like, I don't want to see that. I need to see consistency, and I need to see, teamwork together. And I don't think that that's not going to happen. I think that Bill Callahan will bring some structure to the offense, but we don't know. It's the unknown. So, I need to see that mesh. Now, the last question mark for me, and there are a ton of them. I mean, we could do this all day long, but the last question mark for me is the 2 tight end set that the Cowboys are going to employ, and they're obviously very, very they're very sold on this transition offensively, because they released Lawrence Vickers, the fullback, and technically they don't even have a fullback on the roster right now. So they've got 4 quality tight ends that look like they're really, really going to go with this 2 tight end set. And I love the 2 tight end set. I like what it does personnel-wise. I'm not talking about the effectiveness, because I haven't seen us use it effectively. But I like the fact that we have some very athletic tight ends on this Cowboy football team. And don't sleep on guys like James Hanna, who could emerge. And I love our tight ends. I think they're very, very good tight ends. But when you come out 2 tights, a team has to think that you can run the football, or that you're going to run out of that set. So that's a run set. I mean, I know there's an athletic passing tight end league, that's in play right now in the National Football League. But 2 tights, 2 wides means run. I mean, that's what it means. It doesn't mean you have to, but that's what it means. So do you want to put 3 linebackers out on the field, or do you want to bring in an extra corner, or an extra safety, depending on how your scheme is? What do you want to bring onto the field? Because if you bring an extra corner, I'm audible into a run play, and I'm running at that corner, and I'm making him. So these are the things that when you wonder the chess matching that goes on in the NFL, these are the types of decisions that will have a defensive coordinator pulling his hair out. So if the Cowboys are going to go ahead and embrace this 2 tight end, 12 personnel set that they're going to be running, I need to see it work, because it didn't work with Anthony Fasano. It didn't work with Martellus Bennett in conjunction with Jason Witten. I haven't seen these sets work effectively, and I've never seen them use it the way that I would use it. Like, rarely, and I'm going to say never, I rarely saw them motion a guy into the slot, a tight end into the slot, Martellus Bennett into the slot, just to see what it looks like. Motion Witten into the slot, just to see who the matchup or the lineup would be on him. Somebody's got to come out with him, or somebody's got to assign themselves to him. I need to see that. I need to see that mismatch. So this is a big question mark, and it's good for us though, because not only do we not know, but opposing teams do not know how we're going to run these sets and run them effectively. So, going back to, because I just thought of something, going back to the 4-3 defense, and I was talking about the question mark, I'm hearing a lot of people say, and if you've played football, we've all played the 4-3 or a cover 2 scheme, I should say. And, it's a simplistic package for a defense. And I hear everybody saying that the Cowboys are going to be better because it's simpler. And, I've heard Darren Woodson say it. I've heard Marcellus Wiley say it. These guys are working with ESPN Network. And I've heard them say, oh, this should be a real good thing for the Cowboys because it's simple and it simplifies things. That's fine. But my question, and no one has asked this question to these guys, is if it makes it simple for the defense, doesn't it also make it simpler for the offense? I mean, how many times have we watched these games and we're sitting here and we know what's going to happen as fans? And I'm saying, if I'm a fan, then what the heck is the coordinators and the players? They must know too. So I don't know if simplistic or simplicity is the way that I would describe these defensive coverage packages that the Cowboys are going to use with this new 4-3, because I don't think that that's a good thing. I don't like simplistic. I like the unknown, So that I just wanted to go back there with that, because I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it's going to be simpler, so therefore we should be better at it." Well, it's going to be simpler for the offense to run plays on it too, then, because they know where guys are going to be. They know where guys aren't going to be. So, but anyway, those are my main question marks that I think that will have to be answered, and some of them, and maybe not even all of them this year, but a lot of them, in order for us to be successful, will have to be answered during the season. So the next thing that it's kind of a question mark if you think about it is there are a lot of positions to me that are we're going to have players competing for, and some of the young guys are going to have a chance to come right in and play. And I've done my mock drafts, and I talked about my players in previous shows. If you want to go back and take a look at those, who I thought would be good. We talked about the players coming out of college this year. The Cowboys drafted a kid, Travis Frederick, who obviously was mostly known for his beard during the draft, and the fact that Mike Mayock said he had a 3rd round grade on him, which he'll get a chance to prove that on the field, that he's not a 3rd round player, but a 3rd round player. But this kid's going to have a chance, and I believe in him because I've watched everything on him. Every single thing that there is, I've watched it. I think he's going to have a chance to play. I think he's going to have a chance to be a very good player and an upgrade over Phil Costa. And now he's going to have to go out and do it. I can't just put him in there and assign him to a position, but he's going to have to actually go out and play. But I think he's going to be an upgrade over Phil Costa. And I don't want to say if he's not, because to me he has to be. But I will, for the sake of you fans, are probably saying, well, what if he's not? If he's not, he's going to have to compete with the guards. And I don't think that there's any guard on this team that has cemented his position as of yet. And that includes the 2 starters, Nate Livings, Mackenzie Bernardo, or tentative starters, if you will. I think that if Frederick doesn't win the starting job, and I know he can play guard because he played guard at Wisconsin. So it's not like he's making a position change from center to guard. The year before last, he played guard there. So it's not like it's foreign to him. He's going to have a chance to compete for one of the guard positions, Travis Frederick. So he's a bully. He is a physical dude. So when you watch him, he's a mover. He moves people. He gets there. He dominates. He does not get knocked to the ground. He's a very physical player. So that's what this team needs. Livings doesn't provide you with that. Mackenzie Bernardo's numbers as far as his physical acumen, it looks like he provides that, but he doesn't provide that. I haven't seen it. Or we'd run more that side and run behind him. We don't do that. So this kid has a chance to play there too, and that could be a push or an improvement early on because the kid's a rookie. That being said, Ron Leary, who, a couple years ago he was in the draft, or last year he was in the draft, Cowboys outbid everybody for Ron Leary's services. Now, he does have a degenerative knee condition that's been well documented, but he's a physical player. He's a large, massive human being. And I watched him in the preseason last year, and he was solid. He looked like he was okay. But this team needs guys that can combo block their first man inside, get back out, down, and get to the second level, or just block inside and then block out. They need those combo block guys, and we don't see that. That's why this team struggles. If you want to know why the offensive line is bad and we don't run the football, it's because there's no combo blocks. Everybody blocks the guy in front of them, and that's it. And linebackers flow to the run to stop the run. That's what happens. So it's not. This is something that Callahan and company. I know we got a new offensive line coach. Like, these guys are going to have to implement combo blocks to this team in order because the defenses are too athletic. You can't just block one guy and bully him and push him all the way back to the safety and take out 3 guys in the process. You can't do that in this league. So I think that Ron Leary can do that. He played tackle at Memphis, but he can definitely do that at guard. So these guys are going to be battling. Ron Leary, Travis Frederick, they're going to be battling, and I think they're going to play a lot. Even if it's situational, coming in, giving a guy a breather, maybe a guy's dinged up, twist his ankle a little bit, instead of him having to stay out there and play injured like our guards did last year. I got to give them credit for that. We got guys that can, float around and do some things, interchangeable guys. So there's some position battles that are going to be interesting in this camp. And speaking of that, the rookie Terrence Williams out of Baylor, if you look at his tape, he jumps off, man. He makes he makes very good plays. He's dependable, reliable, good hands. I think he's a decent route runner, and when you listen to him talk, he seems like he has his head on straight, man. He just a lot of these guys, when you listen to them, the guys we drafted, it just seems like they're focused and they're really, really, really just got their head in the playbook. So I think he's going to have a chance to go in. And it's going to be a long shot to me because Dwayne Harris is, if you want to talk about a wide receiver, we talk about Dez Bryant, his last 8 games of the season. Which Dez you're going to get, the first 8 or the last 8. But another kid who came on is Dwayne Harris. He came on strong. He made some plays against Pittsburgh. That kid made plays. He made plays. So a guy like that, Cole Beasley, another guy, these guys don't have to go through these rookie wrinkles that, figuring out what's going on and understanding where to be at the right time. Those guys are veterans. Cole Beasley, I wouldn't necessarily say he's a veteran yet, but Dwayne Harris is a veteran, and he's a major contributor on special teams. Maybe had Dwayne Harris been asserted into this team earlier in the season, speaking of his special teams play and talking about the way he made big, clutch catches, and he's a hard guy to bring down, for a guy who's not the biggest wide receiver in the world. But had we inserted him into the lineup earlier, the Cowboys' season might have been different. He looks like he can return anything, any punt. So Dwayne Harris, I would say he's got the leg up by far as a third wide receiver. But don't sleep on these guys. Guys get hurt, man. That's the way of the league. Terrence Williams is probably more of a wide receiver. He can play, but he can play inside. If you ask me, he can play outside. I think he can play both. So I think Dwayne Harris struggles when you put him outside You put him, when you play him outside, it seems like he's not as effective. So he's more of a slot guy. So Terrence Williams is going to have a chance. I think with our wide receivers being always, coming off the field or banged up, Terrence is going to have a chance to make plays. But he can attempt to wrestle that position away from Dwayne Harris. Now, I don't think he'll be able to do that, but he can. But one of the more intriguing, I can't even say it's a battle because I don't think it's fair, but I'm going to say impact position players is Joe Randall, the running back out of Oklahoma State. He's a productive back, and I know he's overcome the thumb injury, and he should be healthy, to resume playing practice duties. But this kid can come in and be a major factor, and I don't feel I'm even going out on a limb saying that. But when you think about Dallas Cowboys third down backs over the years, I mean, you can talk about Tashard Choice. The third down back has always been successful. Even when Marion Barber was a third down back, Julius Jones was a third down back, Rashard Lee was a third down back, Troy Hambrick, they were third down backs that every fan wanted to be the starter. I mean, we all did. We all thought Troy Hambrick, I'm telling you, I've been on these boards forever. There was a time when Troy Hambrick was averaging as a third down back 6 yards a carry, and we all wanted to see him start because he was a thug. He'd go out there and run people over. Wasn't blessed with great speed, but he was a thug. Rashard Lee, there were people crying for Rashard Lee to get a start when Parcells was here, because every time he touched the ball, it was 5 or 6 yards. Same with Tashard. So this kid is a better player than those guys. Joe Randall he's a very good player out the backfield. Doesn't have the greatest speed, but I wouldn't say he's slow. He's going to be his position battle is not going to directly be at DeMarco Murray. His is going to be at going up against DeMarco Murray's injury that he may have, because then he's going to slide in to that spot that way. But he's going to compete with these Philip Tanners, Dunbars. These guys he's better than them. Right now, today, he's better than them. But he's going to have to prove it. And he will. He'll go out there and prove it. But I think this kid is going to be interesting, because when DeMarco Murray goes down, that means the backup is now the starter. And I think this kid can play. So he's going to have to prove blocking and all that stuff. I know, but he can play. So these position battles, let's think about the right tackle situation. Remember, we signed Doug Free, who pretty much, or not we signed him, but we restructured his contract, took a pay cut, however you want to call it. He was poor last year. I mean, he was a liability. And he's going to come out and he's going to probably start. Jeremy Parnell, if you think that he's going to come out there and wrestle a job away from him, it's probably not going to happen. Could it happen? Yeah. If it does happen, that's a bad sign. But Doug Free, he's battling. He's going to be battling for a position. So, and I'm sure that the Cowboys, that they have some money under the cap, and I know they're trying to re-sign, Sean Lee and doing some things with the money, but they can still go out and get a player, if in a pinch, if they think of Eric Winston. Because I will say this, and I don't care what anybody else says, Eric Winston is a better football player than Doug Free. He is a better football player. He blocks better, and he pass protects better. And that means he's better. Now, he might not be a better dad than Doug Free. I don't know, because I don't know what these other people are measuring. He might not be a better driver than Doug Free, but he's a better blocker than Doug Free. So Doug Free's going to have to go out and prove it. We're going to have battles at the safety position. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great to watch this go down in minicamp. But, what also comes with all of this evaluation is injuries. Injuries come with it. So we're going to see injuries. These are real-time injuries, ladies and gentlemen. These injuries that happen will affect Sundays. They will affect your Sunday football. ACLs getting blown now means out for the year. 6-week injury, you're starting to talk about, will he be, a high ankle sprain? Will he be 100% for game, the opening season? So these injuries from camp, you start seeing Miles Austin holding the back of his leg, that's a sign. I mean, so it's real right now. It's really real here. So in closing, I just want to say that this is, I'm not doing any predictions yet on the season. I'm still looking at the schedule, and I think, the schedule looks like like it's doable. But by no means, because too many people and entities I hear talking about the Cowboys, this team does not lack talent. I don't know where I hear all this talk about, oh, they'll be lucky to be 7-9 or 8-8. This team is not a team that needs much. They don't need much. They just probably need to be guided and coached better. And this team can win more than 8 games. So I don't want to hear... I mean, this team won 8 games, was a game away from winning the division with a slew of injuries. The most injuries since I've been watching Cowboy football, the most injuries I've ever seen. And I'm willing to say that it's been as bad as any team that's had to encounter injuries last year. Now, that doesn't mean you can't win injured, but you're asking a lot if you're saying, I don't care about injuries, just win me a Super Bowl. That's asking a lot. I know the Ravens did it last year. I know a few years ago the Packers did it, where they withstood a lot of injuries. But teams that are banged up, like the Cowboys were, don't usually win games. So don't be one of these guys that are saying, I don't care about injuries, just go out and win the game. It doesn't happen that way. You don't plug in Kyle Orton and go to the Super Bowl. It doesn't happen. And you might find one instance in the last 40 years where it happened, but you can't bet on that. So this team's loaded with talent. And the last thing I'm going to say, a lot of people aren't talking about this guy, and I don't know why. I have no idea why. But I think one of the most underrated signings this team did, or you know, they went out and signed Justin Durant. And I know we talk about Sean Lee, Bruce Carter. We got some stars. This team has a bunch of budding stars. Des Bryant, Tyron Smith. These kids are, I mean, they're going to really show us what football's about this year, barring injury. But don't sleep on Justin Durant. That guy is a tackling machine. You know, I think he's better in coverage than some of these guys are giving credit for. I think he's very active. And he can probably play all 3 linebacker positions. So he does bring us some position flexibility. But I think that the kid is a very, very good player. So, and what they're going to ask him to do, he's going to be right at home. So he's learning. He's still a young kid, but every team that he's on, he generally leads the team in tackles. So I'm really ecstatic about guys like that, you know. So, guys, I'm going to tell you this. These videos are going to be coming. I'll be giving my analysis. Please hit like. Please subscribe to the page. Definitely check out my videos. And in the comments section, if you disagree or have other points that you want to be made or that you want heard, put them out there. I'll bring them up on the show. I also have my email box at bootsports@yahoo.com. Send any questions, any requests, whatever it is you want, send it there, and I'll be glad to bring it up on the show. Once again, definitely visit. This video will also be shown at your daily CowboysFootballFix.com. Thanks again to guys like CJ Wright and Cowgirl Cass, all the fans. I'm out of here. Let's get this season started on the right way. How about them Cowboys?